Hello, my name is Carrie Brown and I am with the Central Mississippi Regional Library System. Today I'm going to be reading to you chapters 8, 9, and 10 of Magic Treehouse, Ghost Town at Sundown, written by Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 8, Who Am I? A fly buzzed by Jack's ear. He slapped it away. He opened his eyes. The sun was high above the canyon walls. He had slept a long time. Slim and Annie were sitting by a fire, drinking from tin cups. "Coffee? Biscuit?" Annie asked Jack. "Where did you get them?" said Jack. "A cowboy always carries biscuits and a canteen of coffee," said Slim. He walked over and gave Jack a biscuit and a cup of coffee. "It's hard as a rock," Slim said, "and bitter as muddy river water, but a cowboy takes what he can get." Jack took a bite and a sip. The biscuit was very hard and the coffee was very bitter, but that was okay with Jack. Since cowboys didn't mind, he didn't mind either. "I'll saddle up Dusty," Slim said. "Take you back to town to catch your stage." "Then what will you do?" said Annie. "Head south with my herd," said Slim. "Sell 'em, then ride across the plains and round up more Mustangs." While Slim saddled Dusty, Jack took out his notebook and pencil. He wrote, "Cowboy breakfast. Bitter coffee, hard biscuits." "Hey, Shorty," called Slim. "What are you doing?" "Taking notes," said Jack. "What for?" "He likes writing things down," said Annie. "Oh, yeah?" said Slim. "Me too. In fact, I first came out west to write a book, but one thing led to another. The next thing I know, I'm a Mustang herder." "Slim, you should write your book," said Annie, "and let the Mustangs go free." "Think so?" said Slim. They looked at the grazing wild horse. "I know so," said Annie. "Yup," said Jack. "Your book should be about the Wild West, Slim." Slim kept staring at his herd. "Maybe you're right," he said. "I could settle in Laramie and right there. Wouldn't have to chase after rustlers anymore." Slim turned back to Jack and Annie. "Yup, I think I'll be a writer. Let's go, before I change my mind," he said. "Yay!" said Annie. "I'll go tell them." She jumped up and ran to the Mustangs. Jack packed his backpack, while Slim packed his saddlebags. Then Slim and Jack climbed onto Dusty. They rode over to Annie, who was stroking Sunset's neck. "I told him he's as free as the wind now," said Annie. "Sounds good," said Slim. "Give me your hand, Smiley." Slim pulled Annie onto Dusty. She sat in front of Jack. Slim snapped his reins. Dusty started off. The sun was hot as Dusty climbed out of the canyon. When they reached the top, they peered down at the canyon floor. The Mustangs pranced playfully, their coats shining in the hazy light. "They'll find their way out soon," Slim said, then cut across the prairie. "Yell goodbye to your pal, Smiley." "Stay with your mother, Sunset," shouted Annie. "Goodbye." Out of the blue, a voice called, "Bye." Annie gasped. "Who said that?" she asked. "The ghost?" "Nope," said Jack. "It's just an echo. It's caused by sound bouncing off the canyon walls." Slim cupped his hands around his mouth. "Who am I?" he shouted. "Am I?" came the distant voice. "Oh, man," Jack said softly. "That's the answer to Morgan's riddle," said Annie. "Echo," she and Jack said together. Jack looked at Slim. "You knew the answer last night," he said. Slim just smiled and snapped his reins. "Let's go, partners," he said. Chapter 9, Lonesome Luke. The sun was low in the sky when they reached Rattlesnake Flats. "Just let us off in front of the hotel," said Annie. "You sure the stage is coming through here?" said Slim. "Yup," said Jack and Annie together. In front of the hotel, Slim got down from Dusty. Then he helped Jack and Annie down. "I hope you'll come to Laramie and visit me," said Slim. He winked. "I might be needing some help on my book." "Sure," said Annie. Slim climbed back on Dusty. He looked down at Jack. "You know, Shorty," he said, "you might be short, but you're mighty tall in the brains." "Thanks," said Jack. "And Smiley," Slim said. "Your great courage is nothing to smile about." "Thanks," said Annie. "Good luck with your riding, Slim," said Jack. "I'm grateful to you both for steering me straight," said Slim. "I promise I'll thank you someday." "Really?" said Annie. "A cowboy never goes back on his word," said Slim. Then he snapped his reins and Dusty loped down the street. "Bye, Slim!" yelled Annie. Slim coolly turned one last time. He waved his hat. "So long, partners," he called. Then he rode off into the sunset. Jack let out a deep sigh. "Okay, I'm ready to take my boots off now," he said. "Me too," said Annie. They sat down on the porch of the hotel. They started pulling off their boots. There! Jack got them both off. He wiggled his toes. He took his sneakers out of his pack and put them on. Annie put hers on too. "Man, sneakers never felt so good," said Jack. Suddenly the sound of a piano drifted through the air. "Lonesome Luke," said Annie. Jack grabbed his pack. He and Annie crept across the porch. They pushed open the swinging door. The piano was playing Red River Valley. Sitting on the piano stool was the dim but shimmering shape of a cowboy. Just then the ghost of Lonesome Luke looked at Jack and Annie. He waved a shimmering hand. Jack and Annie waved back. Then the ghost of Lonesome Luke faded away. Cold air wafted past Jack and Annie. They both shivered. "Oh, man, let's go," breathed Jack. They leaped and dashed up the dusty road. They ran across the cracked ground and past the graveyard. They ran until they reached the tree with the magic treehouse in it. Annie grabbed the rope ladder. She hurried up and Jack followed. They were out of breath when they got inside the treehouse. Annie grabbed the ancient scroll. She unrolled it. "Yay!" she said. The scroll had one glowing word on it. Echo. "We got it right," said Annie. Jack grabbed the Pennsylvania book. He pointed to a picture of the Frog Creek woods. "I wish we could go there," he said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 10. Echo from the Past. Jack and Annie looked outside. The sun had slipped behind the trees of the Frog Creek woods. Annie still held the ancient scroll. She put it in the corner next to the scroll from their ocean trip. "Just 2 more to go," she whispered. "Yup," said Jack. He unzipped his pack. He pulled out Days of the Wild West. He put it on top of a stack of books. "Ready?" he said. Annie was staring at the books. Her mouth dropped open. "What's wrong?" asked Jack. Annie just kept staring. "Have you gone nuts?" said Jack. Annie pointed at the Wild West book. "Read the cover," she said. Jack picked up the book. He read the title aloud. Days of the Wild West. He looked at Annie. "So? Keep reading," said Annie. The author's name was below the title. It was in smaller letters. Jack read, Slim Cooley. Jack gasped. His mouth dropped open. He and Annie stared at the words for a long moment. "Oh, man," whispered Jack. "We were using Slim's book, the book he wrote after he left us." Jack and Annie shook their heads with wonder. Jack opened Slim's book. He looked at the title page. At the bottom of the page he read, "Texas Press, Dallas, 1895. Jack turned the page. He read the dedication. "With thanks to Smiley and Shorty, 2 strangers who changed my life." Jack looked at Annie. "Slim dedicated his book to us," he said. "Yup," said Annie. She smiled. Jack placed Slim's book back on the stack of books. Then he and Annie left the treehouse and climbed down the ladder. As they started through the woods, the trees were alive with bird sounds. The air felt soft and moist. "Frog Creek seems so peaceful," said Jack. "No rattlers, no rustlers, no ghosts." "Yeah, but no Slim Cooley either," said Annie sadly. "I know," said Jack, "but when we read his book, it's like he's still talking to us." "Oh, right," said Annie. "You mean it's like an echo from the past?" "Yeah," said Jack softly. "Wow." Just then, out of the blue, a voice called, "Jack! Annie!" "It's Dad," said Annie. "Coming!" she and Jack shouted. Then they ran all the way home through the long shadows of the setting sun. The end. Thank you. Goodbye.